Greetings from St. Louis today. This is Renee Benson at AV Renee KC. You are listening to and watching the AV Life.
James here. I'm driving and Joe's not here, but you're watching and listening to the AV Life.
And I'm your host, Tim Van Wert, coming at you from the great state of New Jersey and Rutgers and Hetma and higheredav.com. And you are watching and listening to the AV Life. Oh, wow. This is a switch. James is in the car on the move. Like this is something I usually pull. Like this is, it's not a Hetma meeting until I'm in the car on my way home or something.
Yep, it's one of those days.
Yeah, I completely
It's also
understand.
raining here in Vegas.
It is.
Well, there you go. Wow, there you go.
Yes. There, we got the weather out of the way now too. Let's
There you go.
right?
Weather's done. Yeah. Well, here, you know what? Let's bring in our guest before we get too far along. A multi-time guest here to the AV Life, Adrian from Nureva. How are you, sir? Welcome back.
Good, Tim. It's good to be back. Long-time listener, we'll say 15th time caller.
Something like that. You've got history with us, you know, so now good or bad, that's everybody else's decision, but you know, just kidding. Always great to have you, Adrian. For those who do not know, please introduce yourself to the outside world, I guess.
Sure. So Adrian Doughty with Nureva. I'm Director of North American Sales. I've been with them going on 10 years now, which is a mind-blowing thing to say out loud.
That is, yeah, and I've been with Rutgers for 9, so wow, you and I've known you for a while then, because
we go way back, man. It turns out
we do go way back. It was funny. I was talking to my wife about that too. I'm like, yeah, my guest tonight, like I've known him since like before Corey, like with Corey. I was like, wow. So
That's funny.
yeah. So
it truly is a small, big industry, or a big, small industry. I mean, it really is like a small world.
Yes, we are. Yeah, we're our own little tight-knit global community, you know, so yeah, because like how often could we hang out? Like what other industry? Well, I mean, I'm sure there are other industries, but our industry specifically, like, you know, you can hang out with your AV Brits and, you know, other folks globally, and you know, we all come together at Infocom and or ISE or any number of things, you know, podcasts or otherwise, and you know,
between
it's like,
the
oh, you know,
and AV and AM and all the platforms, we all find a way to stay in touch, even if we don't see each other physically. So that's awesome.
Exactly. So we are at the end of February, which I can't even believe we're here now.
I can't either.
Yeah. I was like, so much has happened this month alone. I feel like has had so much. As you are listening to this, the Hetma conference has wrapped up. So that was just last week. So that was I'm gonna say, before it even happens, I'm gonna say it's gonna be a whirlwind, because I know that's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be 3 crazy fun days, and I'm predicting it now. So
that's awesome.
And it's good. Yeah. So that would have already happened. We had the Super Bowl, and you know, your Chiefs won. We're gonna focus on that part. Renee.
Yes.
And
that is why I couldn't join you last week. I was getting ready for the festivities downtown.
Yes. So, and we're more announcements have been made for like World Cup here in New Jersey. So that was, you know, where we've got the finals coming in here. So that's gonna be awesome. And I'm gonna try to get tickets, but I doubt it's gonna happen.
At MetLife, right? It's happening at MetLife Stadium, which is exciting.
Yep. Yeah, it's like 20 minutes from my house, so that makes it even better. It's like I will pay the, you know, whatever $100 Uber ride it is to get there and home, or whatever it might be, just so I don't have to deal with the parking over there.
Yeah, that'd be a mess, right?
Oh yeah, you don't want to deal with parking. I've actually been to a professional game at MetLife Stadium, and they do a pretty good job of it. Really.
That's true. Yeah, I will say most.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, James.
I was just saying, yeah, I saw years ago, I saw AC Milan versus Manchester United. And like I said, that was a crazy game. All right. And with that,
I see him reaching for the garage door opener. He must be
have
home.
fun. And if you get tickets, Tim, maybe hook me up with one. I'll come out.
Well, if I was gonna say, if I can get
Come
my
back to
hands
Jersey.
there you go. Well, I only need 3 because so if I'm allowed to buy 4, then there's gonna be a 4th. So
Do it.
So all right, James. Well,
Have a
glad
good
you made
night,
it home
everyone.
safe. Yeah, you too. Have a good night. Well, you know what? It's funny. And we're talking about our tight knit community, and that's the February we always say is, as some people say, is like the month of love or whatever however you want to put it. And this is the for the love of AV episode. This is what, we talk about our community, and that's, I think, I don't know what it is, Renee, but I think the last year, and Adrian too, I think this last year we've proven more that this is an AV family. I feel like COVID was one thing. We spent like the last like 2 years kind of getting back to a normal situation. But this last like 23-24 fiscal year, I feel like something was different about this year that
Yeah.
it really made our AV family like show through. And I can't put my finger on it, but that's why I'm just leaving it
Yeah.
open like that because it just popped into my brain and I'm like, this year's been different, but not bad. It's just different.
No, I just think maybe it made us appreciate being able to get back together and do all the things that we did that we couldn't do for a while, when shows were canceled. And, I think it's funny because, I mean, we've had FaceTime for how long? We've had it for a long time, but we do video calls now. A couple of my girlfriends, it's like, hey, Thursday happy hour, 6 p.m., let's Zoom. And, a few of us just get together and chat. Well, we didn't do that before, but it became such a normal part of our life that it's like, hey, what are you guys doing Tuesday? We live all over the place. And same with like EFAT. If I try to communicate with her,
Mhm.
I know that I'm sending her messages that I'm going to get responses when I'm still sleeping, right? Because of the time change and all that. But
Yeah. Mhm.
we didn't do that before as much. So I just think that, I don't know, I feel like it made you appreciate it all that much more. And like
Mhm.
meeting everybody, like the awards last year, we were just talking about that before we started recording. I mean, just to be there for the first HEPMO banquet awards, that before Infocom started. And I don't know, it was kind of like a fun powwow of friends, but in all seriousness, a really great organization that came together and brought a lot of people together. And I'm really looking forward to it again this year. So I
No,
don't know.
Yeah.
from my perspective, all the travel, like that first year after the pandemic, we were all still kind of on pins and needles, so everyone was still super cautious. And I think as the fear dropped away, you're
Yeah.
able to more engage with people in person. And
Yeah.
I like your point about FaceTime. Like you're right, it's been around forever, but
Yeah.
the pendulum kind of swung way too far towards it and then way too far away from it. And now we're finding this nice middle where we all want to get together. It's more fun that way. You always see the same people at the shows we end up going to. But then you
Right.
can add on the FaceTime layer, so you still have that visual connection. And I really like that balance that seems to have been struck. It's a cool place to be.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think yeah. And I think that's also why I think the relationships are building where we're getting
Yeah.
closer, like in a relationship sense, where
Yeah.
yes, we have the FaceTime piece, but we can keep that going in this virtual world that we've existed in more so over the last 4 years.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
and that's the other thing. I mean, and well, we could also go into this on another episode, but the fact that we're 4 years from when this whole thing went down is a little nuts in my head. Yeah. I know. You know what,
Yeah.
I will say we've done a very good job of not going back to this conversation. There was like a good, I think, year where we always like kind of chimed in a little bit with it
Yeah.
here and there, but overall, like, you know, I will say I got, who was I talking to? I was talking to somebody maybe like a week or so ago, and I used the term like since the pandemic, and I think I used it like 3 times, like within this conversation, because it was just about like how things have changed and how we do business. And it's like, and even in my head, I was like, I actually just used that term. Like it felt weird that I had mentioned about that.
Yeah.
And I think it also because I had just caught COVID a couple weeks ago, like for the first time. Like I made it all through the
Oh,
main
wow.
part of it. Yeah. I got my booster, I got my shot, I got my booster. Like I did all those things. I did all the traveling, I wore the masks, whatever I did. And then sure enough, my wife and I and my son we're questionable on him if he actually had it or not. But the two of us had it, and we think we got it from going to one of the wrestling events that we took my son to, like for his tournaments and stuff. And nobody was worried. Now, obviously, we're back to normal, so it's not like it was before. It's like, oh, you're inside, wear a mask. It's like, no, that was not the case. Like, we're back to normal. What does it matter?
Yeah.
And then, yeah, sure enough, like 3 days afterwards, it's like, I'm achy. It's like got a little fever. It's
I'll
like
be
do the
interested to see
test.
what happens this year, because like the conventional wisdom is COVID's not gone, right? It's still out there. It's
Correct.
just
Right.
we've adapted and it's adapting. So it's going to be this
Hmm.
ongoing thing. But I went to see Kiss their end of the road tour, right? So I saw them here in Calgary and it was phenomenal. But let me tell you, that was a super spreader event. Like we got
Yeah.
home, we went together. There were, I think, 8 of us, a group of friends
Hmm.
who went, and of the 8 of us, I think 6 got sick. So
Oh,
like it's still out there. It's
Yeah.
just
yeah.
not as, I guess it's not as terrifying anymore. Like it's still
Hmm.
scary. It's still gonna hurt you,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm sure you didn't feel good,
Oh, yeah,
but
no, yeah.
there are enough ways to deal with it that we can sort of find equilibrium.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say it was like the first day that I was like fully like in on it. Like I think so. I was supposed to be with the folks from Crestron. I was up in Rockley. I was at the hotel. I had gone out to dinner with the whole crew on Tuesday night and I stayed at the hotel overnight, getting ready to do a full day on Wednesday. My wife called me. She's like, I don't feel good. I'm testing. So she tested positive. She tested my son. He tested quasi positive. It was one of those like very light lines. And I'm
Yeah.
like, all right. And I like went up to the organizers and I'm like, I need to go test myself. And sure enough, I tested positive and I went home. So on Thursday, it was like the day after the booster, I think was probably the best way of put it. No, was it the booster or it was either the booster or the first shot. Like where like I was just curled up like on the sofa, like I didn't want to do
Yeah.
anything, like I was achy and so it was like everything they said it was going to be, that's what it was, and I had the cough and the only difference is that the cough, like I still have it. Like there are times I'll be just all of a sudden I'll have a coughing fit and I've got no other symptoms aside from the fact I'm still recovering from it. So yeah, it's very much still out there and still doesn't make any sense as to, rhyme or reason, like
And still
why.
so many different symptoms, like yours would
Yeah,
be different from mine versus the next person. It's still,
right.
but it's like Adrian said, like we're learning to deal with it, right? Now we're learning to,
It's
I
the
mean, I
new
was,
conf it's the
yeah,
new conference cold.
right. It was, yeah. I mean, I came back from CEDIA. I was like, no, I'm
Mhm.
fine. Went to the next show. And then it's like, oh, everybody's got it. And then all of a sudden I have this headache. I'm like, oh, crap.
Mm.
Super spreader. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's
So,
funny too to go back to the love of AV. Like
mhm.
this show I did today in St. Louis. It was the first time this reseller partner of mine had ever done this kind of a show specific for House of Worship, and it's like the vendors. You walk around them when the folks were in sessions. The vendors stand around and talk and all that, and it's like this is like a reunion. Because
Yeah.
we hadn't done something like this with this customer, and they only had a select group of us. And it was like, okay, how the kids, how's the wife, how's the dog? Like, catching up on, with people that you hadn't seen in a while. And it was like, man, and so it's funny that we're recording this tonight, but I'm like, that made my heart happy to walk around and now so and so's a grandpa and so and so's kid just graduated college. It's like, oh, they were a child when I met you. So it's just
Mm-hmm.
funny to, it's especially like I'm sure every territory is like this, but here in the Midwest, it's like we don't go very far, right? So we'll see you in
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City one day, we'll see you in St. Louis the next, we'll see you in Des Moines the next, and it's just same old folks. We might be wearing different hats or wear a different polo shirt today, but it's still a really tight knit community.
That's the one that gets me, Renee, is how the polos change, but the people under the logo are all the same people. So
Yeah,
a friend of mine, probably know her, Brandy. She just switched jobs, and I had the opportunity late last year to go to an event, and she was there, and her son works in AV. So like I met her and I met her son, and like the logos change, but it's
yeah,
just great to have those personal connections. And I found it, maybe this is just me, but it's great to maintain a relationship this way, like through Zoom. But
Mm-hmm.
you can't build one, you can't grow one if you don't get to shake someone's hand every now and then, right?
yeah,
Like we go back to
Right.
InfoComm last year. That was the last time I saw Tim, and I wanted to hug him, but I was
yeah,
still scared of like I was so scared of COVID. I was being extremely careful because I got it the
Mm-hmm.
year before, and I still have like scars and fear from it. I'm fine, but I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's as that falls away, we're all gonna continue to get back together, and everything's gonna be, I don't want
yeah,
to say great
Yeah.
again, but we're gonna get to build those friendships up again.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And that's what I will say. And that was what was nice too, is like, having these relationships, like even in a virtual sense, like Adrian reached out to me about some stuff and like we like immediately I was like, all right, let me hop on a call with him. Let's talk this out. And we figured out what we needed to figure out. And then something, and then it turned into some of the products that Nureva's got coming down the line, which was really cool, and I was glad to see that as well. So like it was a personal relationship, business relationship that was, but yes, I'm gonna give you that hug at InfoComm, Adrian, if you're gonna be ready for it. So
I'm ready. I'm back.
all right. And speaking of which, I'm still trying to wait for my pricing on my flight to come down for that. So if any of my AV family has any tips on that, I've already started using Hopper. Is the that came from Ann Kelly from Yale. She had good experience with Hopper, and Hopper kind of keeps an eye on the flights and tells you like when it's going to be at its lowest. So I still have some time, which is a little anxious ridden for me, but if that means I can afford to also get my extra leg room, then I'm going to do it.
yeah. I don't know. I don't have any tidbits. It used to be Tuesday and Saturday mornings early, but I think that went away a couple years ago.
Well, yeah, then
Yeah.
there was the middle of the month, middle of the day, like,
Yeah,
and
stand
I
on
don't
your
know about
left
that.
tippy toe. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, something like that.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's funny we're
whatever.
talking about it. I haven't had any planning meetings or anything yet here at Sony. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm sure it's happening, but I think we have a pretty big presence at NAB. I don't attend that show, but
Hmm.
Sony does. So I think they're trying to get through that before we dig into InfoComm. But everybody
Yeah,
was talking about it today about InfoComm. I'm like, I can't believe it was Christmas 5 minutes ago. Now we're talking about InfoComm. So,
yeah.
but
Well, okay. Well, if without jumping too far ahead, then because we also have the HETMA Roadshow at Rutgers for New
oh yeah,
Jersey. That's April 10th, and then there's the Ohio HETMA Roadshow at Ohio State University on May the 10th. So that's
okay,
those are both coming up down the pipes. Had a really nice conversation with Ryan Gray and Andy Vogel over at Ohio State, and we all talked about what we were planning on doing, and so it's and so far all the road shows have been a great success, and it's been a lot of fun from what I understand because I haven't actually been to any yet, so it's funny that I'm just kind of running one just based on what others have learned.
yeah,
So,
it'll be great. I'm sure.
oh yeah, it's gonna be fun.
I've heard nothing but good things. So I've
Yeah.
got full faith in you, having never done one.
So it'll be fun. It'll be fun. It's definitely gonna be fun. So that's all I'm after. And even if it's a little bit chaotic, it's higher ed. Why not? Everything's chaotic.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say, be ready for that. Just count
yeah,
chaotic as top of the
uh-huh,
list. That means it's a success.
yeah. Um. So yeah, I will. So and that's kind of like one of my things that I love about this is that as much chaos as we all experience, and this goes back to the community, really is what it does. Is like we may all have this chaos day in and day out, but we've all been there, or someone in the community has been there. So like, you go to James's AVIT Slack channel, and we got the rant section there, and we drop our rants in there. It goes, yep, I know that. Yep, I know that. Been there. And it's like, all right, so maybe I'm not so crazy. I'm just a little crazy, but
Give
yeah,
yourself a little credit.
yeah, I haven't completely lost it yet. Um, it's nice having that support, as well. That the community brings. Um, and also, it's a good place to sound off about events and opportunities and things like that. And it's you get the word out about something, and it's like wildfire, and all of a sudden it's, oh yeah, I want to do that. Yeah, I want to do that. And so that it's really cool.
So what's the date of yours again? Your
My April 10th.
April 10th.
Yeah. And then May 10th in Ohio. I have links available for manufacturers who are interested in joining us for that.
Well, I sent the April 10th. I think I sent that to my marketing person, but I didn't know the May 10th one. So I'm just writing it down.
That's just coming out. That's like breaking news here on the AV Life.
Breaking news on the AV Life. We need
It's
a
my,
we need a
my
like
Marriott
a
goodie bag here. So
I'm making a breaking news announcement for the guys at Ohio State when they're not even here. So it's like,
funny.
Andy, you owe me one. So so yeah, so going back to Infocom, and yeah, so it's like, it's funny, like when you're trying to plan, and I'm sure it goes the same for the manufacturers. Like you have all these shows, and like HETMA, we've got our conference, we've got the roadshow things, and then like still trying to think about, for us, like the roadshows are individually run, but then Infocom is the next big thing. So like we have the conference right now. Well, I say right now because tomorrow morning I'm gonna be
Yeah.
at my desk, and attending the conference. But it's basically, as soon as we're done, by the time you hear this episode, we're full gear getting ready for Infocom, because that's gonna be the next big thing. So, and the Higher Ed AV Awards as well, which I'm sure we'll be getting more information about that soon. So keep an ear out for that. Start thinking about your nominations. That's what I'm going to say right now. So that I could definitely talk
Okay.
about, because that'll be happening.
And you guys have day jobs.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, apparently there's a job at Rutgers that pays me. So
That's funny.
so I'm glad they do. I'm glad they do that.
Yeah.
It was funny. It was the first time in a couple of years that I got my like annual ethics conflict of interest link, because I used to have to do that every year, I thought.
every year.
But I think with COVID and everything, I think it got out of whack. So I guess the first time I've gotten one, and like in a couple of years, that I was like, oh, I gotta put HETMA on this time. It's like I'm actually like doing work off hours for this. So
Yeah, definitely. You guys put in a lot of work.
Mm.
It's going to be another good. Now, are you guys having the same kind of booth? Are you going bigger?
Oh, we're
'Cause
going bigger. We are. We got a
I
double.
assume that was the case.
We got a double decker coming in, and the top level will be
Oh my
your
gosh.
favorite tallest
Okay.
man, one of the tallest men in higher ed AV, DJ Carbon himself, Lyle Waldron. He will be spinning it from on top of the the top level. We'll have a podcast studio up there as well. Some meeting space, and then down on the main floor there'll be, our general meeting areas and spots for everyone to hang out, and it's gonna be a lot of fun because it's Vegas, so why not go big, So
Yeah. You think can't top last year, but I guess if you had a little bigger space, you could top it. You guys were jammed
we're,
all the time.
we're gonna keep trying. We're gonna keep going
Yeah.
until they tell us to stop. So they
That's
didn't tell us to
awesome.
stop last year, so
No.
Two
You had the
floors is
crowd.
an intense level of planning.
yeah, that's
That's opening yourself up for a world of hurt.
well, we'll see.
Hopefully,
I guess we'll have.
a slew of volunteers.
Yeah. Be
Well,
very
that's
nice to your volunteers.
Yes, exactly. That's why, and that's basically why I take vacation time to go to InfoComm, is because I'm not really doing work for Rutgers. It's like
Right.
it's like we'll do our usual recording from the floor. And it was funny. Oh, so we actually got a little bit of a AV Life unofficially shout out on the exhibitors training for InfoComm. That's where that Joe had sent us a picture on our Slack channel, and it was a picture of me, Nancy, and like you got a little bit of Renee in there too. Sorry, Renee, it was a sneaky. Yeah, it was like you see blonde hair, and it's like you see Renee's shoulder into her arm, in the light blue, and so yeah, it was a sneaky Avixa photographer grabbed a shot while we were recording, and so it's yeah, that was out there as part of the training. So, but they didn't identify us as the AV Life, but that's okay. We knew it. We knew. Yeah,
That's
and the
what
palm
matters, is
trees,
that
the palm trees were there and everything. So it was.
Oh, those
That's
inflatable
awesome.
palm trees were amazing.
They were.
I loved those.
So now it's just a matter, and that's where it really comes down to, is like, how do you top the Life's a Beach theme for Orlando, for Vegas? So there are a few things I'm aware of, but I'm not going to spoil anything yet.
I was like, we weren't even out of Orlando, and I'm sure things were planned for the next year, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you
While we
guys'
were
brains are rolling.
breaking down the booth, we were brainstorming what Vegas was going to be like. So yes.
That's so funny.
So yeah, this has been like a year in the making of this theme. So yes, it's or possible themes. So
Yeah.
Wow. That's yeah, we have our first. It's the first one where sort of the wider team is engaged on Thursday about what we're gonna do at InfoComm. So we're
Cool.
small. I'm sure Sony has had this planned since like, a while. But yeah, our marketing person is like, okay, I've got a bunch of ideas. Let's talk about them and then decide, because hey, it's tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
June feels far away, but at the speed of this year, June is not far away.
I'm just the one who waits for the email that says time to book and here's your schedule.
Go here at this time, say nice things.
Yeah, this is it. Although I think that Rich is bringing us in, I don't know if this is set in stone, early to do some training since everybody will be together.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm thinking, oh, does that extend your stay in Vegas? It's like a few days is one too many days in Vegas. But so we'll see. So I'm hopefully I'll be out there. I'd like to be able to help you guys this year. Last year, I think I signed up for booth stuff and then I didn't get there in time, but hopefully that doesn't interfere. But I just love HETMA. Speaking of love of AV, I just love the HETMA organization and what they do. And I appreciate what they're doing for the universities. And I've had a couple of people in my territory that, I bring up HETMA, they're like, all right, I guess I need to investigate it because you're like the fourth person to ask me about that. So I guess we need to figure out what's going on. And then I try to sell it with my zero commission making sales pitch for HETMA.
Well, that's what I love is that like our manufacturer partners who are part of HETMA are talking to other manufacturers and explaining how it works for them and how they've benefited from involvement. And so the the love is definitely out there, and it's not just Hetma to manufacturer. Like I said, manufacturer to manufacturer, and I'm getting more of my Rutgers University community involved as well. I brought it up at one of our like community meetings on Friday, and I had 5 people register. Like just like that, like
Wow.
from one little. I didn't even
Yeah.
talk about it for that long. I think I talked about it for like 5 minutes, and it's like if I actually had time and planned out what I was going to say, I might have actually gotten more people.
Well,
But
I
That's how Nureva got in. Is we heard about it from a customer of ours initially, a user of the product, and then it was Sony who actually gave us our second referral, and that's what triggered the next conversation. Right? If you hear about it from an end user who likes your product and another manufacturer who says nice things, like you gotta look, right? You can't,
you have to.
especially to your point, Renee, in an industry that's so small where everybody knows everybody, those two very different groups of people say the same thing about something, you should absolutely look into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
so,
I kind of fell into it on accident, kind of like I fell into the AV industry, but I kind of fell into it kind of on accident because Tim and I only met on the AV Life that Corey was
yep.
doing. I don't even know how many years ago it's been, but it was kind of like it was an accident, right? I ran into him at Infocom, like at breakfast. I was like, "Oh, I got to tell that guy his podcast is really funny." So I went up and
Mhm.
introduced myself and was talking about because Rich was on there. I think it was a whiskey tasting or something. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that I think
Those
something like that.
but I
those
stopped.
early rich days where it was nothing but whiskey were
Yeah.
amazing.
But it was like, I stopped Corey and then he ended up coming to my booth and then we chatted and then he invited me on and that's how I met Tim. And then the rest kind
Mhm.
of just did
Yep.
this because I do have people inside Sony that are like, so like, how are you so involved with Hetman? I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know if you call me involved with it. I feel like I've been a part of it with these guys since the beginning.
You have been,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. So it's like,
by association, you've been with us since the very
I'm like a
beginning.
proud mom of watching this thing grow, Yeah, by association, yeah, just happened to be.
But so yeah, I mean, now Sony is part of us. Like
Right.
you're one of our manufacturer partners, and we are thankful for that. And so
Yeah.
yeah, you're part of that community. And
Hopefully even more this year,
but
so,
yeah,
yeah.
and it's been yeah, it's actually interesting when you put it that way, Renee, that the podcast has existed and I've been a part of it, for years. It was one of the first things like that I got involved with after I joined Rutgers. And again, I've told the story a million times, and I thank Gina Sansevero for that.
Mhm.
She was the one that Corey reached out to her, and she was coming on, and like I had met her through because she was our FSR rep at the time, and
Oh, yeah.
we got to talking, and then she invited me on to go on the show with Corey, and then the rest was history from there. Corey then like enjoyed having me on the show and then asked me to come back, time after time, eventually making me a crew member. And then yeah, I mean, from the very beginning of Hetma, Joe and BC had their moment, their epiphany moment on that trip to Japan for Panasonic, and that
Bam.
was the rest of his history. They
Yeah.
came back, and I think and I had met Joe at the ETC conference, or it was
Oh, yeah.
CCUMC at the time at
Yeah.
Poughkeepsie, and you know, part of that, then that conversation got started, and then Hetma was still in its kind of like we're getting things kind of rolling stage, and here we are 5 years later,
It's
and
been 5 years.
5 years, yep, 5 years of Hetma. So we're, and being part of the initial steering committee, and that's yeah, like I said, Renee, you've been here since the
Yeah.
beginning with us on
Yeah.
that. So yeah, that's
Yes.
why is that you've heard the stories from the very beginning,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Nothing makes me buy the sentence "time flies" more than when someone says 5 years, and I'm like, wait, what?
yeah,
I know, exactly. I
uh,
mean, yeah. And they had to coin the term that, they were virtual before virtual was cool because
yep,
that's true. I mean, they were doing these virtual conferences so that universities and schools that don't have budget to fly you across the country to to a CCUMC or EDUCAUSE or those kind of show or Infocom, that they can still partake in it. I think that's the biggest thing. I think that I don't know how many people are going to log in this week. I'll be anxious to hear. I bet it's going to be big. I bet it's going to be bigger than even last year because, and people can log in for an hour or 2 hours or the day or kind of what, and they can step away from their desk and go back to work, and it's free. That's huge. It's free, and they're getting this knowledge, and they can network with peers. And even though you guys compete in everyday life, right? Every day you're competing for students, right? Or what have you, or faculty, and in this organization, you're all just there for one common goal to share. And I just think it's so neat. I think it's so neat what you guys do. And if a product works, you spread the word. If it doesn't work, spread the word. So yeah, it's neat. It's really neat.
Yeah, and I will say that's the cool thing about the virtual conference, and we were doing it because we knew that there was a need for that in our industry, and we're competing for students, but we're not competing for students at the same time.
Yeah, right.
Like our goal in AVIT is just to make sure that the students have what they need to succeed as students, and yes, there is a level of who's got the biggest, brightest, shiniest new toy that will draw students. So yes, there are those parts too, but ultimately it's the fact.
Your goal is to give the best experience for that student in their college journey, right? And so if you can, some of these smaller universities that don't have the budget, because not everybody can just go buy the widget and test it, but if they can utilize your Slack channel or the other channel that HETMA uses and say, okay, listen, this is what our need is. Give advice. And it's right there. I'm not on that channel, but I'm sure if somebody posts a question, it's kind of like, bam, 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 bam. Here's what works for us. And that's, that's huge.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of people that don't have those resources, they don't have that. So
yeah. And that's why we also do different like sort of outreach and scholarship opportunities as well. Like we have the PRISM scholarship. It's one of our DEI initiatives. And so, if you are of those underrepresented groups, apply. It's you get a mentor, you get a trip to Infocom, you get your CTS taken care of. Like you still need to pass the test, but you get that taken care of. So that's all part of the scholarship, and you get a year membership to Avixa as well. So like that, it's all there because we want to try to help develop those individuals who, maybe they're at a smaller college or a community college, and they want this knowledge, but they can't afford to get it done for them. And the same thing with the Aurora Technology Scholarship as well. We have these control systems that are available for people to apply for, to donate, and we're going to send you that equipment and get that all taken care of for you. And we'll get you the training and the support that you need to be successful with that, for that technology. And we are starting to get some feedback from some of our manufacturer and integrator partners to be able to help you succeed with the installation piece as well. So there's all these opportunities as well for that. So it's not just about the virtual conference, it's not just about the community, but it's also about giving back to the larger community as well. So, and we're very thankful because we wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff without our manufacturer partners and other sponsors. So, we're all volunteer based, like we talked about last week. We all have our day jobs.
Yeah.
we have the day jobs
because I'm just laughing at that because that was part of the introduction. It was almost like a warning, like, hey, everyone's a volunteer. Sometimes it's going to take a minute.
Yeah, and that's true.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's true, especially as things get going really busy with Infocom planning and awards.
And day jobs, right? Like the reality is day job is gonna come first, and this is a passion project. So the balance of the two, everyone's only got so much gas in the tank, right?
Yeah, that's so true.
Exactly.
So true.
Except you, Renee, who flies everywhere and
no.
pulls into hotels on 2 wheels.
Yeah. I didn't want to miss. I felt bad missing last week. I was going to really try to get on last week, but my city was on cloud nine and we were just celebrating. So I was like, oh no, I cannot get downtown at 4 or 5 and get on the podcast at 7:30. Did
No,
not work.
nor
Would not have
nor
wanted
should
me.
no, nor should you have. You should have just
Yeah, we
you
were
did
having a
exactly
blast.
what you're supposed to. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a blast.
So
Well, that's a lot of love.
it's a
Talking
lot of
about
love. Yeah.
A lot of love.
There's a lot of HETMA love, a lot of higher ed love, a lot of AV love. So yeah, I mean this is I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the love. So yeah, I guess we'll start to wrap up here. I gotta try to get to bed to get ready for 3 days of
Tomorrow.
conferencing with yeah. So and that's the nice thing about flexibility with the conference real quick. And I wanted to tell this story. Um I get to tomorrow. So tomorrow for the conference, I'm going into the office. I'm spending half the day in the office. I actually have to come home because I have some things I have to handle here after school with my son. But I'm able to be at work, do what I need to in the morning because we don't start until 10 o'clock Eastern time. I know that doesn't
Yeah.
exactly help the West Coast folks, but and so but like for those of you on the East Coast, you have a few hours in the morning to get things done. If you're on the other coast, you have your afternoons to catch up. But I'm gonna run home, do what I need to, grab a quick lunch, and then I'm going to be on for the afternoon, and then get to do what I need to in the afternoon. There's no other conference. You can't, like, I couldn't do that with another conference. Like, it's only a virtual conference like HETMA's that I could
Yeah.
do that with. So I do love that about it. So yeah, that was my little story I wanted to share about that.
That's awesome. Well, I hope it goes great. I know it will.
Yeah.
It's gonna be cool.
I'm traveling tomorrow too and Friday, so I don't know how much I'll be able to jump on, but I am anxious to hear. I know it's going to go great.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have a whole post HETMA breakdown. So come to look for that shortly. So
Yeah.
all right, folks. All right. Well, here's Adrian. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate
My
it.
pleasure.
Always a pleasure having you here. Renee, thank you. James, he was here and then he left. So if you missed it, for some reason you're catching this in the middle of the episode, which I don't know how you are, go back and listen to James for a few seconds. He got to talk about soccer. It was great.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, so thank you, Renee. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off on a
Nope.
quick thank you.
Nope. All good. Glad I could be on this week.
Yeah. All right. And to all of our listeners, thank you for checking in. Subscribe, follow us on YouTube and all the, the fun socials out there. I did do a walking with Tim today, so look for
I
that.
listened to it.
Look, and it was about the HETMA conference, and so, but there might be more of those. I'm trying to get myself into the habit of doing that like more frequently. And today was a nice day, so that's why it was good to do. So, so as I always say, until our next adventure.